a relatively, well, I'm very new member of this group. Um, I like it very, very much, and I have huge hopes. This will be the very, very first time when my script is critiqued. So I'm a little bit nervous. I do have a theatrical background, and as I said in the first meeting, I, I absolutely I love theater, but I think it is today currently, even if it comes back after this god awful COVID, it's still it's stale, it's old, it doesn't talk to young people. So I'm very, very much interested in making the movies. I have a whole bunch of ideas. I wrote a whole bunch of scripts. This is a short one, and once again, this is probably the one that is first draft is complete. I can't wait to hear how bad it is. So
Always
that's
the
it.
optimist.
Hey, you don't have to be nervous, all family.
Oh, you're
Hello, friends.
guys, you're absolutely wonderful, and I would say that don't worry about my feelings. Just tell what you think about it. And it's not to say that I won't be upset, but I do want to hear what can be, what is wrong. That means I can improve. If you say, "Oh, it's so lovely," which and I'm sure you were not going to say, but anyway, I'm very, very looking forward for you to tell what can be done, if anything, better.
Okay, I just want to start by asking, how did you come up with the story? Like, what was the inspiration? What you know?
Wait, can you, let's let the other members go, and then we can get into the
Okay.
the script. So Joseph, you were here last week, so why don't
Yeah,
you?
that's fine. Hi, Joseph Bouvier. So I am. I've done a bit of writing, a bit of producing, and worked for ad agencies for a while. Taking some time off because I had a kid. I thought it was only going to be a couple years, but it turned out to be a lot longer. The last year and a half or so, I've been writing every day, and my goal was to do a couple shorts by the end of last year, but things got sidetracked with that. And I am currently working on writing a couple shorts, and I also have, sure if it's a feature or web series, Christmas Noir, Santa Claus, hard-boiled detective who has amnesia, but it's a dark comedy. It's fun in general, and I'm working on a first draft of that. I have about 50 pages done right now. So and at some point in the next couple of sessions, I'll probably submit one of my shorts, just to have it looked at. I too, like Tatiana, would be nervous to do that, but it's like it's good to put your stuff out there. That's what I think. So that's it. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Joseph. And on to the newbies. Diallo, you want to give a little spiel?
Sure, I am Diallo. My name's Diallo Ferguson. I've always been interested in film. I fell in love with it just like everyone else a long time ago. And I participated in productions. I had my own little TV show on a public access station. I had aspirations to shoot a documentary, and I really like the movie format. So I'm just the type of person who always have let life get in the way. So nothing really started moving forward until recently. But I'm working on a short, just to get the experience and, writing down my ideas and trying to figure out how to move this forward and turn it into a viable project. So I'm happy to be here and see you all and work with you.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, BT.
Well, maybe Lee's too, but
No,
I'm a South Coaster, live down in Fairhaven near New Bedford. And a year ago, right about a year ago, I had to make a big shift into streaming and streaming production for business purposes. Pushed myself to do that as a multi-camera kind of a thing, and developed the tools to do all of that. That took me from photography into video, and that started to pique my interest in other ways. Started to move into some more capable cameras. Started pursuing some possibilities for a documentary, and kept that was working on that over the fall. At this point now, I do have a documentary short started, something that's going on in the area, an event center that got put on hold for a year, and they're trying to get that ramped up and going again. So got the first few interviews in the can, but still, but the most of that activity is going to be in April and May. So I'm kind of biding my time at the moment. So in the meantime, started chasing down some training in editing, and encountered my first experience with narrative dailies, and all of a sudden it was like, son of a gun, I like this. And developing that final, taking those performances and beginning to knit them into that final version and final representation of the story on screen. And so from there, it's been, okay, well, where do I start to talk to people that are doing these things? And so on to Meetup, and here I am.
BT, did you attend the our meetup with the IP lawyer like a few months ago?
No, this is.
Your story sounds familiar. That's why I was thinking. Have I seen you? Have you seen? Are you on other meetups? Because your story sounds.
No, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't attended a meetup in.
No, well, other meetup groups. I'm also part of the what do they call themselves? Oh, Roll Hat, and are any other part of meetup? Any other meetup groups that meet online?
No, not at all.
Okay, so this is your first time with an online meetup group?
Yeah, I think. Well, I did a couple of meetups, but that's years ago at this point, and in a completely different realm. So, yeah. But at this point now, it's like I say, there was at first trying to edit dailies. This oh my God, where the hell did I end up? How did this happen? And then it started to click, and it was like, oh, that's how this works. And so I am actively looking for some editing work to do in the over the next few months. So that's a part of being here, and getting myself exposed to scripts and all those good things as well.
Right, certainly, yeah. Just your story sounded so familiar. I don't know where. I don't know. Maybe there's another person with your experience. That,
a lot of people got pushed into streaming this past.
Yes. No, you're right. You're right. It's true. It's true. So maybe I heard another story very similar to yours. Mm-hmm. But anyway, glad everyone could make it. And so we have one script, Tatiana's, and on for the docket. And just to go over the ground rules for those not familiar, the newbies, we have 2 rounds of peer reviewing. The first round are the positives, what we like most about the script, what most worked for us. And then after all that is settled, we move on to round 2, and those are the critiques, needs for improvement, questions for the author. And it usually gets a good discussion going. And I think we certainly have the right script to do that tonight. And additionally, if at any time you agree with a certain takeaway from another member, please, by all means, let it know, so that helps build consensus, and that really helps out a writer with moving forward with their script in terms of both the positives and the needs for improvement. So anyway, so it's Tatiana's script. Was it Grandma's Treasure? Grandma's a Treasure Hog? Is that what the name was? I should know this off the
That is a tentative
My Granny the
title.
Treasure Hog. That's right.
I'm not the best.
Okay. But but anyway, Kenyatta, do you want to ask like just the background?
Yep, I will, Kenyatta, I will. Actually, this is a borrowed idea. There is a Soviet time Russian outstanding book that was put maybe 7 times on the screen. And the whole idea is the engine of the book is how 2 guys are chasing the treasures which are hidden in the furniture. And it is most spectacular comedy. And I was just thinking, wouldn't that be exceptional if somebody could write such a movie about somebody chasing across the United States, meeting all the people? That would, unfortunately, I don't have the talent for good comedy and write. So I thought, well, just like a teaser, just like a little chunk of story like this, and if I put it on YouTube, would it ever collect any interest? And from that perspective, this is why I brought in an absolutely fundamentally true, realistic treasures. They do exist. They're extremely expensive. The Prince Yusupov existed, died in 67. It is readily just very simple for anyone to check on the, Google it and all the information. So that might create, I'm in my mind, would create the credibility to the story and warm it up. So that's in a nutshell the idea.
Is this a short, is this meant to be a short film, or is it part of a series of?
No, I don't have, no, this is it.
This is
The
it, okay.
part, for the chase, and I don't have, if anyone ever would, show an interest, I would be happy to give it up for somebody to write a really good comedy script.
Yeah, comedy is particularly hard. Oh, go ahead, Kenyatta.
No, it just sounds like the way you're describing it. We've been talking about proof of concept, which is, and I gave examples of movies like Saw. It started out as a short film, and it got an interest, and eventually they were able to get maybe a producer to give them money to make the film, the feature. The same thing with Lights Out, same thing. And a couple other films, 12 Monkeys was a short film. So this happens quite a lot, but it sounds like the way you're describing it, you're making it sound like a proof of concept, like a short story that eventually garners enough interest, you could get funding for it to become a feature. Is that the intent?
I would not object to this course of events.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. All right. So we can get started. Round 1. Again, these are the positives, the best takeaways from the script. And would anyone like to start us off?
Ready.
Sure, I'll go.
And start us off. Excuse my scratchy throat. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus. At least I don't think it is. I really liked the title. I found myself both intrigued and completely confused by it, and it made me want to read it. So that rarely happens, and that is what pushed me to read it. And I like that your opening scene starts with movement. It keeps it keeps the interest on the first page. And so I really appreciated that you right off the bat had a vision, and that it subverted the actual title of the film. The name of the film is My Granny the Treasure Hog, and then you start with Katie, who I am picturing as much, much, much younger. And so I appreciated that, and that you had a vision that was completely different than what the reader was thinking.
Yeah, what I like best about it is the tension between Lola and Kate. I think I like the Lola character. I don't know if she's good or evil, but I know that she has made inroads into grandmother's life, much to the dismay of Kate. So I like that tension that's building between the two.
Thank you, Karis, and I appreciate, I was very, very uncertain about the title. And Steven, I thank you again too, because I particularly thought of Lola that she should have a question mark. What is she? Just bug us. So what is it? How bad is she? Or maybe she's not. Thank you.
So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows Somar, right? Is that correct?
There. Hey,
Hey,
sorry.
just entered the room.
Hey, Samir. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah.
So yeah, he's a part of another meetup group, casual writers, actors. Meetup group. They're also very good. They meet on the other Tuesday, the off week. So we switch off Tuesday nights for meetups, but they're very good. So yeah, we just got started literally just as you popped in. So yeah, if you're we're just starting with the first round. Just the positives are the best takeaways we have with the script, and then we can move on to the next round, which are the critiques and needs for improvement.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. I did have. So I did go through this. I think it's on the positive side. Two things that I really liked was some of the descriptions of the characters and their demeanor. It was, it was to the point at certain areas where I think it was, in the sense, how they were behaving was also reflecting their characteristics. So that's one thing that stood out to me as part of the read.
You're referring to the action lines, right?
Yeah, I'm referring to both when you have introduced the characters. I think initially I think it was page, hold on. I loved how you introduced the grandmother when she's making an entry. You've kind of taken, Lola, when Lola wheels out Galina, they're like three paras more or less, but they describe them well. So you kind of already feel what Galina is. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but how, what she would be like as a character. And then later on in the scene description as well, you kind of see that matching to how they were introduced.
I see.
Yeah, I liked all the characters, especially Galina and her relationship with Kate. That was a really good twofer that went throughout the piece. It's a very good interaction. Lola is also a great character because the more stuff that gets revealed about her, just fleshes her out more. She starts off as one thing and then ends up something completely unexpected, and that's always good to add in that sort of character into your work. I'll go off of what Samir said. Your descriptions are very good. I understand what the setting is and where everyone is in relation to everyone else, and that helps really give a good visualization of how this thing would play out on the screen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tatiana, I think the real strength of the script is Galina. You've given us one of these, she's following in the classic kind of old showbiz broad stereotypes that we have so many of. And, you know, she lights up the picture, and every time she's there and she's wacky, you know, you just want to see what she's going to do next. Everything else, you know, even if there was no Fabergé egg to be chasing, you'd still be curious to see what Galena is going to do. And that's
Thank you.
it's character driven. You got a good character there.
Thank you.
I would have to. I'm in agreement with both Rob and Steven. Like, I really liked Galena. I found her to be entertaining. She was. There were moments where I was like, I wanted to laugh. She was funny, and I do like the tension between Kate and sorry, I am not good with and Lola. I thought Lola was an interesting character, and I kind of like the twist that Kate takes at the end too, where she's not sure what she's going to do, and then she decides that she's going to go off. We don't know how that's going to end up, but can only imagine. And I think I liked about Lola too is that I was very suspicious of her, like going through it. So and at the end, I'm not quite sure what she's going to be. So I like that. Like there's a lot of character, there's a lot of twists in the characters on all of them, and Galena's a lot of fun. So that's what I really liked about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
We can move to the criticism.
No.
Well, I also agree that you have a lot of potential with the characters you have in the script. So I agree with everybody on that.
All right. We all set with round one? Going once. Twice. Okay, so on to round two then. The critiques, need for improvement. Anyone want to start us off there?
Sure, I'll go. And these are just things about structure and formatting. Jeff, can we call up the script? Great. Page one.
Page one.
Great. Okay. When you see Kate first time, all in uppercase, let's describe her. That's your time to describe who she is. How old is she? What does she look like? What's she wearing? If they're important to her character, and you want to do that with the first time we see any character. The same goes with Mark on the same line. So anytime we first see a character, they're Lola and Galena, just describe them and maybe give an idea of how old they are. Just so we can get an idea of what they look like.
Yes. Yes, great. I missed that.
Is
Thank
Lola
you.
voluptuous? Is she sexy? Is she not sexy? Is she tall? Is she thin? Is she scraggly? Is she polished? I mean, all those things that will tell us more about the character. And that's your chance to really, Galena, an 80-year-old pistol, or an 80-year-old firecracker of a lady, or something like that, just to give us an idea of who they are. Every time we see a new character, that's how you need to introduce them.
She's ready for her close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Exactly, right.
Great, thank you. That's absolutely missed that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So I have a question, Tatiana. Why is Kate documenting? Why, or who is she documenting this for? Like she's bringing the
it just I'm must not be described. I thought that this is just young guy from school there is a media class, and he has to do just family documentary. And this is somehow develops into this crazy, strange, bizarre story. So I must have, I should look into this so it's more.
Yeah, that wasn't clear to me because I didn't quite understand. At first I thought, oh, it's just just shenanigans just with recording grandma like on, but then it seems that this is much more involved sort of project than I would probably suggest doing that with when you introduce Mark, especially like say like film student or something like that, in order to like help convey that, because I was confused as to what exactly this project was entailing, this documentation.
Okay.
I have a question.
When you introduce Galina, I think you have her. I'm assuming you want her to speak with a Russian accent, and if so, then you should tell us that she speaks with an accent. It's only because I know that you're the author of this that I kind of assume that's what she was speaking, and of course the story makes us think that too. But it also explains why she speaks English the way she does. So we
Rob,
want.
I greatly appreciate this. But again, the whole project, I see it. I would film it in my house, and I suspect there will be the only one. I need to find 3 actors, and I suspect I will be one of them, and I have plenty of accent. I can't get rid of it. I do have a professional training, actor training, so.
I agree. I know. I'm sure you have all that down, but when we're reading the script, we don't know that. And so
that's right.
The script.
Sorry.
We need to know that. Not you
right.
need to know. It's what we need to know.
Yes. Thank you.
I had a question on Mark. Earlier when you're introducing Mark, you say he never comes into the view and that he's filming. So I think my question was that for the whole script, or was that for just the scene? And if it was for the script, are we saying this is actually from a point of view of the camera, or is this kind of, that's something that I wanted to understand. It was not clear, at least to me.
All right, I see your question. What my intention was, no, he never comes during the whole short. He never comes into the view. It's just his voice now and then, and he's filming, except of one episode that it would, which I would structure as a home video. When the old ladies are having fun, which I also would present as some old video done by, say, by a daughter. But Mark, to answer your question, no, he never comes in. He's just a guy who is taking down, recording the action.
Okay.
That was my intention. You might convince me otherwise.
No, just to clarify. So, and the whole short is made from like the camera's point of view, which Mark is holding, or no?
I don't think so.
Sige, Ron?
So the whole short, is that made from the point of view of Mark's camera, or the short will be shot from another camera while we see Mark not visible?
Yes. Yes, that's what I would. So far, I was thinking that even though he will be changing the position, it will be mostly his point of view.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, I think there was, I mean, you could feel that in the beginning, but as we moved on, that didn't appear to be the case, hence the confusion. And you may want to, I don't know, mention it. Because
Okay.
earlier
Okay.
we see Kate look back at the camera and we can understand it's kind of from his camera's point of view, but then later on, it sounds more like from not from his point of view. Again,
I see. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Tatiana, I'm not really sure what Mark adds to the short. Other than you got him there and he's shooting it. I mean, he's. I mean,
Well, I guess it was again born out of my desire to tease people as much as possible, pretending that this is not a film, but a real thing, which perhaps it's not going to happen, because for that we need 3 phenomenal actors, and I'm not sure how can this be accomplished.
So is your intent to make it like a mockumentary type of thing? You want to feel like a documentary, is what you're saying.
found
Yes.
footage, or it's like a
Yes.
found footage movie.
Exactly. I just want to pretend or present it as if somebody was just recording the family event.
Could I jump in with a quick question?
Yeah.
I don't have the script, so I didn't get a chance to read it, but so I wanted to ask a question about Mark. Does he say anything to the actors as he's recording, like, no, do that over again, or stop, or he makes a funny movement with the camera and then he tells someone to do something? You can hear his voice, but you can't see him.
Yes, there is. He does say few lines. They are not in any sense commanding or directing. He just tries to be just a little bit a part of the conversation. And no, I did not even think to include any kind of filming techniques or like or camera movement or anything. I thought that it's not my place and it's not in the script. But it's a good suggestion, actually, just to do that. Just the camera movement would authenticate it, right? Thank you.
I just wanted to say about Mark and Kate's relationship. I was fine with it at the beginning, but I kind of wanted to know what their relationship was. And that could be a brief definition of what that is, but I'd like to know how they're related, because something later happens in the script where Kate talks about she's traveling for work and Mark is doing this media studies class. And I'm like, is Kate a student? Is she like, what is their relationship? Because if she's traveling for work, I don't know that. I just want to know what the relationship is, like boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm just curious. I can make assumptions, but when I read that she was traveling for work, that pulled me out of the script a little bit, because it made me go back and think about what their relationship was.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
A quick dates and times question. The setting of this script is what? Contemporary today? More or less? 2020 or?
You're asking to place it historically on the timeline?
Yes. Yeah, the script is playing
after COVID. I'm literally after COVID.
After what?
Pandemic. It's
Okay.
present time,
And just say present day on it.
present time.
Just say present day because you go to a flashback.
Yes, okay,
just-
thank you, Stephen, thank you.
Just say present day. When we come from a flashback back to present day, say present day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So, and how old is Galena?
Well, she got to be somewhere around 80 plus.
Okay. So that means she was born in the 30s. So there's a continuity question there. What's her connection to the Russian Revolution if she was born in the 30s?
Actually, the Prince Felix Yusupov lived the last years of his life. Oh, he lived all over the Europe, and he died in 67. So she had plenty of opportunity to be his secretary.
Okay,
so the facts
did not
check.
I did not understand that by reading the script that she would have been a secretary at some later date. I was a little fixated on the fact that he escaped the Russian Revolution and she was a secretary for him. I kind of assumed that it was back then. So.
Okay, I understand that maybe, yeah, just a line or a line and a half. Once he lived in.
It's not hard to explain that it's a different time frame, but it needs explaining somewhere.
Okay.
So Tatiana, when I've heard people talk about stuff like that, it's like they would have some artifact that they inherited from when they escaped and went to Ukraine and made their way to America. And that is a story that they talk about with their kids. So maybe that's how someone in the 1930s ties all that stuff back to the revolution and why she's talking about stuff in the present day.
Okay. Oh, that becomes serious. Thank you.
Tatiana, I have a question about your flashback. Frankly, I read it and wondered why you had it there because it didn't really seem to do too much. And especially if you're making the movie yourself, it just adds a level of complexity to the picture that it really doesn't need. We know from the moment we meet Galena that she must just be the belle of the ball, raconteur, and we don't need that demonstrated in a shot from the past. In fact, I don't even think you want the camera to stray too much from Galena in this whole thing because she's the engine of the thing. The other characters are interesting, but she's the one you're paying the money for. If you were paying, of course.
I deeply appreciate your comment. Thank you. I have just one cry for help. Where am I going to find the actress to pull something like this?
Well, that's your problem.
Thanks, Rob. That's
hard. There must be somebody up in your area who can play.
Yeah, Boston.
Yeah, there's some meetup groups. Samir, you have a group that includes. I should have let you do a little bit of an intro. I guess now's as good a time as any. You can do a little bit of a deal for your group if you want.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I do, as mentioned. So I have a group of a meetup. We meet every other Tuesday. So we have like coming Tuesday. We have both actors and writers come in, and it's a different format. Writers submit their material and we do go through like a cold read by actors. So if you would we have some actors over there who can definitely we can get in touch with, or I can, if you want, I can spread the word on the group. Yep.
I actually did audition few times. It was for the theater, but I was using all this post, you know, all the websites where you seek the actors. And I was directing the Venus in Fur, if you ever heard. It's an extremely intense play with 2 characters, the phenomenal parts. It was wasn't that easy to find a strong actor.
You can cast
pull
yourself.
something off.
Just cast yourself, age yourself by, you know, however many years you need to age yourself.
I know. I'm not sure. It was my cheap way out. I understand, and you are absolutely right. It's a very slippery slope. Yes, I understand. Thank you.
So, Tatiana,
Yes.
was this originally meant for the stage? You
No.
write this as a stage
No.
play? Okay, so okay.
No, never. No, I don't want it on. I never even thought of it as a stage, even though I did write two stage plays. I mean, yes, stage play. No, this one not.
I have to agree.
Does it count? Yep, sorry.
No, I was going to say that I agree with Rob in terms of the flashback. Flashbacks are pretty tricky. Can you hear me? Am I heard?
Yeah, we're coming through.
Okay.
I can
All
hear.
right. Just want to make. Okay. So yeah, flashbacks are very tricky. If it doesn't add any new information in there, and I think the flashback that you did, and then adding information that we didn't already know, then we didn't already gather from the events that that was before the flashback. So they're very tricky, and also short scripts. They may be shorter than features, but the assumption can't be that they're easy to write because they're shorter than features. It just takes, it's definitely a discipline all in and of itself. Other than a feature, the feature has its own discipline, and short screenplays has its own discipline to it. Now, the other thing is, it's a plan what you're going to do with it, and I kind of touched on it earlier, whether you're going to use it as a proof of concept or if you want to, put it in the festival. Like if you actually want to shoot it, there's different kind of festivals. You have to find out. There's some festivals they don't want your film to be no more than 5 minutes or so. And you might have some that could be a little bit longer. Like if it's like 1 page per minute, so this will be over 20 minutes. So you have to be careful of that. So with that said, you want to get into the story as soon as possible, because the way it's written almost feels like the first 20 pages of a feature. Okay. Now, if you want this to be a short story, a short script, I would get in as soon as possible. You know what I mean? It's like, I think you took a little bit too much time. Like page 9 is when it started taking off. You don't want to go past page 3. You get what I'm saying? So you want to get into the story as soon as possible. Like, who is your protagonist and what do they want? You want to get into that right away. You want to get into it much sooner than page 9.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to just yell out. I have 2 quick comments and 2 questions. Number one, I think I agree with what they're saying about going into the past, just from the perspective of budget. Because if you're really going to shoot the past, you're going to have costume and everything that really makes it realistic. So that's going to be a budgetary concern. But if you have money, then no problem. And in terms of casting, I think once you do a casting call on like New England Film or something like that, people will respond to you. Like people will reach out and say they're interested in playing a role. So that's something you probably should look into, newenglandfilm.com. And the questions are, go ahead, I'm sorry. Okay, so my question was for Samir, what was the name of your meetup? And Kenyatta, could you explain proof of concept? I don't think I've heard that term before. Sorry, I'm a newbie.
Okay, so maybe you want to go first?
Yeah, the meetup's name is the Casual Acting and Screenwriting Meetup, and I'll paste the link.
We'll post it in the chat if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one out of Arlington, Virginia, not to be confused with the one there's sort of a similar sounding one out of New York.
Okay.
Is someone's television on or radio on in the background?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry.
All right, so I just, no, I was just about to answer his question. That's why I didn't have it muted. But I don't know if you heard me earlier, but proof of concept is examples of that could be like the movie Saw. What happened was he did a short of the movie Saw, and it's on YouTube and everything. But once he put that out, proof of concept is like, okay, I have this story, and you put out the short, and you're getting people interested in what your project. Producers see it, and then it's like, I have a feature, and if they love the short and you get enough people out there interested in it, and it gets enough views and all that kind of stuff, you'll get a producer interested to kind of pay for it, give you a budget for a feature. And there's other films that do the same thing, like even Raising Dion on Netflix started as a proof of concept, which probably was just a short. 12 Monkeys, a bunch of other films, and yeah.
I mean,
So
Awkward
basically,
Black Girl is almost a proof of concept.
it is exactly
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and Shakira, and she was able to parlay that to Shakira on HBO, and that had multiple seasons. So that's what it is.
Yeah, Whiplash.
Thank you, guys.
Exactly. Yep. And I posted that, and we do have a Facebook group, and we talked a little bit about proof of concept. And I used, and I actually posted in the group the actual films. Like I posted Whiplash, I posted Saw, I posted other films that were proof of concept.
I think Whiplash started as short.
Yes, exactly. It's BT actually mentioned it. Actually, a lot of horror movies that Kenyatta mentioned.
Lights Out.
Lights Out. That's Lights Out started as a short as well. Yeah, for some reason, horror movies tend to go that route most of the time.
Well, Blair Witch kind of got that started, and everybody's just been chasing that ever since.
Well, that was a feature length sort of proof of concept.
Well, yeah. Well, that's yeah. It was feature length, but it was still in that kind of rough-hewn version. But it sure was successful.
No, I just want to throw out there too that you mentioned about you're right. I'm trying to think your name. We talked about like when you go into time and you got to think about budget, but it sounds like Tatiana that you're into theater, so it sounds like to me that you should have access to a lot of theater actors and maybe even costumes. I mean, if you've done plays, period pieces, and you have access to what they were wearing back then, yeah, you should be able to find something. And there is, and I also posted this in the group as well, where they do have places. It's called Peer Space, where you can go through their little catalog where people are renting spaces, and some of them are very impressive. I mean, you have a church, you have this place that looks like it has a throne and everything. You know what I'm saying? So if you have the costumes, you have access to actors, it's very doable, especially if it's a flashback and it's very short. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem.
Again, the question is the flashback telling us something that we don't know?
Correct.
I mean, if it is, fine. If it's not, then you don't need it.
Correct. If we're going to see a flashback at all, I would envision that any flashback will involve her meeting. I forgot the name of the guy where you got the egg from, if anything. But the flashback, as it stands right now, really doesn't add anything. All it is it's taking up space in the story. Like I said, if it's a short, you try and get down from 20, you can remove that part of it if you're not, going to use any flashback at all. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll gladly do. I was just, I still do, that it's all in one room and, well, in one apartment.
You can make that
But-
work. You can make it work.
Kenyatta and Rob, you're saying that flashback doesn't actually give anything.
Exactly.
Doesn't
That's what
add
I'm saying.
on to character or to the action, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you were gonna have a flashback, I would personally envision that you will go back to when you actually met the person who gave the egg. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna give a flashback, because the flashback you gave was information that we already pretty much have.
Okay.
Yeah, because you only got but so much time in the short.
Yeah, I think the rule of thumb is really if you and everybody is pointing to that, right? So if you remove a scene, what would do that to the short? If you think it would not affect it a lot, then it's pretty, you can pretty much remove it. And that's the feeling that you're getting. Till time is not giving something or adding something essential to the story that will make it move forward. Pretty much a lot of times you're able to kind of, as part of rewriting, go through the scenes and question yourselves, is this, if I remove this altogether, what will it do to the stories? And in that way, you'll be able to kind of maybe rewrite it and make it more crisp if you want.
And if there's a specific piece of information in that scene that you can roll into a different scene.
Again?
If you wrote the scene for just to convey a specific just exposition, you can roll that into other scenes as well if it's just one moment or one piece.
Yeah, and don't worry about it being one room, because right now there's a lot of talk about a particular film on Netflix called Malcolm and Marie, and it's an hour and 46 minutes basically in one room, and it never leaves. You know what I'm saying? Ma Rainey Black Bottom is basically one area.
Thank you, that helps.
Right.
I hate it.
So if you could do an hour 46 minutes in one room, I'm pretty sure you could do a short that's like 10 minutes long, 12 minutes long in one room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Locke with Tom Hardy is takes place in a guy driving in a car for like an hour and a half. It's really.
That's a very upbeat comment. Thank you.
Nadia, I had a question about the ending, especially if this is just a one-off film. I don't really understand why we go to Lola and the other woman conspiring to go get the egg by themselves, and why they're sort of cutting grandma out of the thing. It seems like, grandma should, there ought to be a scene where all the three of them are going to do this somehow, where we're looking.
I see.
Want to be sure that grandma's included, because if the two girls go off by themselves, I mean, they're characters, they're somewhat interesting, but they pale compared to grandma. And if grandma is if you take the camera off of grandma, suddenly the whole energy level of the movie goes way down. And
Rob, would it be awesome if we continue, and when they arrive to New York apartment, grandma is already there?
I don't know what the solution is, but I mean, I'm just saying, grandma needs to be there. Grandma is your Gloria Swanson character. She's the mommy dearest character. She's all those great old Hollywood women who are kind of over the top.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, Rob. I didn't understand the note that we end on with Lola just taking the camera and then we cut off. I thought that was kind of a weird way, a weird note to end on. But yeah, I definitely agree. Include Galena because she's your star. She's like the main draw and she's the main focus of the story.
I see.
She definitely needs to be involved with how this thing ends. And I'm just curious, how would you want? What do you think is the ending? What do you want the audience to take away from by the end scene?
Can I just before you answer that, I have a question. You know, this connects to your question, right? Like who's your protagonist in this, and who's the antagonist, and what does the protagonist want? So to end, it's like it's answer the question: do they get what they want or not?
Yes, I hear your question, and I did not round up the whole short. It certainly kind of ends up abruptly. So I guess I was not planning. I just in my mind it was further events, but yeah, I think.
Titania, and this is just a question. So, as part of this writing, what was your process? Did you just put it on paper as it came, or did you chalk it out in terms of kind of the structure? What was your how did you approach this?
That's one. I guess it was sitting in my head for so long that I just started to
And that's fine.
just writing down
Okay.
how I envisioned it would happen.
Makes sense. No, and yeah, and that was really just to understand, because there are two ways of doing it, right? So some plan it out and some just write it. And I think, and it's great that you have put it on paper as something I would say rare, right? A lot of people, a lot of us, a lot of writers just have things in their head. But again, this is again as part of your rewrite, you may want to and kind of check the arc and I would say the beats of the story. I mean, it is there, but you can, as somebody mentioned here, right? The first 9 pages, you're kind of it's a lot more introductory. And you're about to, as a reader, you're about to start questioning where is this going when, page 9, you're kind of introduced to the egg. So if to keep the pace on and the beats on, if you trickle in some of that, what's about to come, that keeps the interest hooked. And you could do this either by showing something about the character or just showing something, and you don't have to reveal it up front. It's just like this small increments of knowledge that is given to the reader. That makes it a lot more interesting, and it kind of you see the story move at a better, more smoothly at a better pace if you structure it that way. So I don't know if you got that, but if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for the rewrite, you should ask the questions that I asked earlier, which is who, who's the protagonist? What do they want? What are they trying? What is their goal? Think about like who's the antagonist,
Yeah,
and then what are the obstacles to getting what they want? And you have to answer the question: do they get what they want? And if they get what they want, like you get what I'm saying? What are the costs? You know what I mean? So you have to ask these questions for the rewrite for this.
Yeah.
And like what are the themes that you're trying to come across in this piece? now will help flesh out your story more.
Okay. Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
most
I
importantly
hear
of
you.
all, you have to reach that point where you've gotten outside of your own head. You know, you got what was in your head out on paper. That's the fantastic beginning. Then it's the question of stepping back and saying, okay, the person that's never been in my head before, how am I going to finish explaining this story? How am I going to map it out so that they cannot get lost? And so they can, so I can feed it to them in an interesting way, but in a steady way, so that they stay engaged and they don't have to know what's in your mind. It's all right there in front of them, as visual and as active and as interesting as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I misread it, but the end, I know a lot of people are confused about the ending. But it sounds like to me that you could correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I read it too fast. I don't know. But it sounds like Lola, she started having an ulterior motive, which is to steal the egg for herself. Am I correct in that? Was that the intent,
Yeah,
or did you hear me?
I do apologize. I have a very bad connection, and
Oh, okay.
sometimes I lose. I apologize.
Oh, okay. No
It's
problem.
complaining to me.
Okay, so I'll repeat myself. Okay, so Lola, it sounds like to me, can you hear me now? Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So, okay, maybe I'm not sure if I misread this or I read it too
Lola
fast.
is.
Did she, by the end, because I know a lot of people are confused about the ending. Am I interpreting this correctly? But it sounds like ultimately when she finds out about the egg, she started having another agenda, which is to steal the egg for herself. Am I correct in that?
Okay.
I'm asking, was that your idea, or did I
Yes, you're absolutely right. She is a treasure digger herself.
Okay.
Gold digger? What do you mean?
Well, as gold digger.
Okay. Gotcha.
Tatiana, I have a
treasure
question.
digger too, but
I had a question for you. Does Kate know about Lola? Is this the first time she's heard about Lola?
Yes, it's
So you need to make that big. When Kate comes up there's Lola and Grandma chatting away, and Kate's got to go, who the hell is this? Oh, this is, and she can explain, oh, this is my new assistant. And then Lola can say, I love hearing Grandma's stories. She's got these fantastic stories. She entertains me for hours. That way you don't need the flashback. She's very entertaining and she's captivating. Have it come through Lola. So now it's Lola and Grandma versus Kate. So now you've got all this conflict going on, and Lola's trying to take Grandma away from Kate, and Kate's trying to take Grandma away from Lola. And now you've got this triangle building, and you use that. And there you got all the conflict you need.
Right.
I
Now
think,
you got a
I think some of
triangle.
that, Stephen, I think some of that's already there. I mean,
But you got to hit it right off the bat. I mean, Kate comes in there, and the first thing she says is, "Who are you?" to Lola.
but that's
Who
what
the
she
hell are you?
says.
Who the hell are you? But it's got to be bigger.
What,
I mean, I don't remember the script, but I mean, they've got to clash right off the bat. Big clash. I think.
Okay, I hear you.
And maybe Grandma says, "You never return my calls. I every time I ask you for help, you're too busy. So I found someone to help me."
Yeah, well, to Rob's point, there was a bit of that. I think one thing that didn't, and this is again a query, where at the end we see Kate kind of not flip really, kind of join Lola, and that change of heart, I found it sudden. I don't know about the others, and we didn't see. I mean, we kind of didn't see that coming because we didn't see an inner motive that Kate may be having in meeting Grandma. So at the end, when she's going on this hunt that inner motive is something I couldn't, I mean, I may have missed it. What was the inner motivation of Kate that led her to then join Lola kind of near the end?
I hear you. So it's not quite clear why such a change of heart happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you can set this up in a different, an alternative way to set this up is that Kate is the protagonist. She enters the house wanting to do good for grandma. She discovers that grandma is hooked up with Lola and that the two of them have been talking about the Fabergé egg, I think, and they've already planned to go out and find it. And now Kate is gonna come along with, they're gonna drag Kate to become a partner with them. And now it makes perfect sense. Kate goes along because she doesn't trust Lola. She's coming along because it's grandma. She's coming along just for the spirit of adventure.
Okay.
An alternative setup would be to have, instead of having Lola necessarily be a complete stranger, Lola could be the black sheep niece who suddenly shows a lot of interest in grandma all of a sudden. So that it's a family picture. I mean, grandma may get screwed here at the end, but at least it's among family. And that Lola's not just, versus Lola, who's completely from the outside and really could be quite bad. But that just depends on how you want to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but I think I like Rob's idea to make it like, like a niece or something. It kind of reminds me of Knives Out. I don't know. Is it Knives Out? Is that the name of the film? It came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, Knives Out with the family, and that's
right.
yeah.
And you have like all these motives. You don't know who's for who or whatever. You might have that one person that wants everything. So I kind of like the idea, Rob.
I see. Okay.
And this is just a reference. I'm putting this, you may want to read this book. It's there's certain points that will help you, and especially around kind of defining the characters, their inner motivation, and their outer motivation, and their inner conflict versus their outer conflict. So that, and if you can, as part of planning your script. But yeah, just give it a look. It's a good book. So.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things here is you got to be really fast. You can't go really much. I mean, 20 pages is probably stretching it to begin with, but you just got to be fast. You got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's got to somehow be tie things together in a way that if you want to set it up that this is the start of a treasure hunt, then go ahead and set it up that way. This is just episode number 1 of the treasure hunt. Then you want to leave us with a cliffhanger. But if it's a self-contained picture, self-contained short, then beginning, middle, end. That's it, finito.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question
Thank you.
about. I have a question about. I'm trying to think of the Galena. Did she have any kind of affair with the person gave her the egg or anything like that?
No, she doesn't.
Why did he give her the egg? That sort of like. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, and basically this remains out of the scope at all, but it's historically quite possible if he is wealthy aristocrat, has no descendants, the treasures he is in a possession are in danger. Galina is, we don't know her background. She's Russian. She's trusted, and so he just asks her to hide it. So it's I didn't think that very much. It didn't try to be exceptionally. How would we say? didn't think of it trying to prove it to some serious truth seekers.
Didn't flesh out the backstory is the way we would say it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I would think there should be some interest. I think, this story needs more Galena, like more of her personality. Like the backstory, I think that's important too, because, just her personality and they did, it, she's a very interesting person. I could be wrong, but, from what I gather is that she's like one of those elders where you can just sit down at a campfire or just sit down in the living room and just hear her tell these interesting stories. I would like to see more of that in this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Does
definitely. This
vampires.
is again I think that the story of the prince and the egg. I mean, I know that's the center, but that really makes it a lot more interesting, especially coming from the interesting character. So I think the point that at least maybe Kenyatta is pointing to is a bit more of that would have helped, because that really is one of the most interesting part of the script. So. And I think that it's a great job done too in terms of giving that history, because we are listening. We get that feeling of listening to a grandma telling about her previous life and her younger years, etc. So
And you can make up a backstory. So it doesn't have to be necessarily the historical figure of the prince. The prince gives the eggs to someone else who's more her age, and they fall in love, and you could create, if you want to go that route, and if you want to go a flashback, a gauzy thing of the two looking at each other, the younger versions, and that's it. You can add layers to it without necessarily anchoring it to just the historical person. Somehow Galena ended up with these eggs, and you can make up a story about it.
I think it reminds me of Crime and Punishment, a novel by Dostoevsky. There's one character, his wife dies, and I think if he gave it to his new wife and then he died, or it can be like one of the governesses that worked at his mansion or whatever. He had no one else, he had no descendants, so he just gave it to the governess, and maybe she brought it to America or something like that.
Yeah. Stock footage of World War II Russian tanks. It was transported from Moscow and ended up in Vienna and then in a crate to America.
There's right there. I mean, just that. Yeah.
He escaped Russia in 1919 by British dreadnought. The military scary
battleship.
Okay, yeah.
Just want to throw this out there. That's like, I'm just thinking about a TV show and a movie, like Pulp Fiction, like The Watch. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you saw Pulp Fiction, but how much weight it gave to The Watch. You know what I'm saying? So why he would risk his life for The Watch and so on and so forth. And then you have Shameless kind of took a little bit for Pulp Fiction, where they had, I forgot what item it was. It could have been a ring or something, where she hid the ring in her vagina and got it from, I guess, the concentration camps. So it kind of gave weight into this certain item. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
We
should move on to pitch ideas, but Tatiana, thank you for submitting.
Thank you.
Thank you for going through all that. It's not easy for anyone that's not easy for a rookie to do to sit in and have people come at you with different with their ideas about your script. But thank you, Tatiana, for that.
Thank you.
I mean, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, you've stirred up interest, so you have a nice
Very
idea.
interesting character, Galena.
Yes, Galena is your star, but just remember, Galena is your star, and definitely center like any. If you want to just make it a short, under 20 pages, or lengthen it out to an episodic sort of thing, I think definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, definitely would love to see any revisions. Just let us know. All right. So, does anybody have pitch ideas for scripts that they might want to put forth to the group, or things are working out? Oh, really? No, no.
I'm curious, how does this work? Sorry, this is my first time, so.
No, it's okay. So yeah, it's something we're going to try. It's just pitching ideas for any script ideas. If it's something you've actually started writing or you've actually need help with, just to see if you can maybe find a collaborator, maybe even with a work or something.
What stage should the writer be in before they
Any
bring it
be
up?
right. You can think of it right now if you want.
Yeah, you're just talking through it, that's all.
Yeah, talk through it with us. Yeah.
Preferably in English. That's a, don't give it to us in Spanish. It's got to be in English.
Okay, so Karis came up with. So you need a male or different kind of perspective on your sci-fi script. I love sci-fi, Karis. I think that's one of the first things we talked about when you came on board. I love sci-fi. Yeah. I would. Yeah. If what kind of sci-fi? You can put it in the chat if your throat's bothering you too much.
I cannot type that fast, so I'm just gonna risk it.
Go for it.
It's sort of like a Southern Gothic sci-fi. And the idea is to eventually have the cast be an ensemble cast. And so the men in this first episode will get their own storylines. I don't want them to be plot devices to just hold up the very female-centric story of this sci-fi script, but I know nothing about the way that men react to things. And there are a lot of them in this script, like the integration happens of both schools almost immediately. And so everybody's bringing in their own tensions, and I want to make sure that it's believable. I don't want them to all react like teenagers because they're 20-something grad students who just so happen to have magical powers and could kill each other. So I wanted, what would you do if this happened to you?
Yeah, I remember you pitching this, so it's sort of like Harry Potter with diversity. I remember, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. Lovecraft Country. That's sort of a good example. I think what you're going for.
Yep.
But someone else.
What's the Southern Gothic element? What makes it Southern Gothic?
The Southern Gothic element is not only the location, but the culture of the actual atmosphere. So a lot of what's happening in the storyline comes from a practice that is deeply rooted in the southern part of the state. So Georgia and Texas and Mississippi, there's a certain sort of practice, I guess, like a spiritual, religious practice that's really like not even, it's never been televised, at least not the way that it should be. People know about voodoo, and that's because, the Louisiana Creole sort of sphere. There's another side to the spectrum, and that's hoodoo, which is completely different than voodoo. And that's the crux of this story, is that it's practiced very centrally in these southern states and doesn't really migrate up at all.
What's the word to describe it?
Oh, hoodoo. I'll spell it. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Voodoo, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, okay.
Yeah. So, Karis, there's going to be a lot of, you're going to ruffle a lot of feathers with the responses from
Yeah.
people.
But
Definitely not politically correct.
you're talking about an all-female school that is now integrating men. Is that what
Yes.
you're talking about? Okay. With a southern misogynistic flair? Is that
I
what
imagine some of them, yeah. It was historically they've always been sort of like friendly rivals. There's a male, the male university is right across the street, so they intermingle at like parties and everything is fine when they go back to their separate territories. But now that they are integrated in, it's like you're here all the time. This is not it's not supposed to be this way. I'm imagining that there are some explosive reactions to that.
What's the sci-fi element?
The sci-fi element, everybody has magical powers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's like Southern
Well-
Gothic Harry Potter. Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's a fantasy element.
exactly. That's exactly how I pitched it.
That's how you pitched it.
Southern Gothic Harry Potter, yep.
Well, as a father, I didn't send my daughter to this school to be around a whole bunch of boys.
Exactly. Yeah, the parents come out of the woodwork. It's an upheaval that really rocks the whole entire town, really, because they've never been integrated before. So there's a lot of mystery shrouded in why is this happening and why is it happening now? Why does it have to affect everyone? Can we overturn this decision? Who does it really affect? Does it just stay at the school? Is this like a precursor to what's going on politically? It has like a.
But you've got a ton of that going on in our living world. Small colleges having to consolidate and having to piece things together. I had reason to go through Mount Ida College out in Newton at this point quite a few years ago, and of course now it's gone. But the time that I was there, it was just a few years after they had integrated with whatever the all-girls school was that was across town. I can't remember the name of the other school, but a lot of it, in a fantasy realm, money, of course, is a more complicated topic, but still there has to be some. Look, we've got, we're dealing with the fact that the baby boom is fading and there are fewer students at every level. Well, why doesn't that happen in the wizarding, Southern Gothic wizarding world as well? There's just fewer students and we have to consolidate our energies. I mean, that's a basic motivation that that just drives everything. And then you can play off of that all kinds of ways as to, well, what happened to the endowment and on it goes,
I love that idea. I will definitely be fleshing that out. That's a great viewpoint.
I definitely feel it's a treasure trove for exploring the characters of at least the men who get integrated, because you can actually show the characteristic of each of the men that are integrating by their reaction to the integration of women and how they change or don't, whatever, because they have, I'm assuming this is from an all man or all male environment that's into like an integrated environment.
Yep.
So there's going to be a change in their demeanor, which will showcase their character. I think it's going to be a treasure trove in terms of at least exposing the characters.
And what I'm thinking of is this: is usually when you have society, the dominant society will be the default. So if somebody feels marginalized, or if you have a group that's marginalized or not getting the same opportunities as the dominant society, that's why you usually see kind of like these like all girl this or all like historically black colleges. So I think this is interesting because it's making me, it's the society that you're dealing with in the story is it are females dominant? Are they dominant in the society that in the world of your play? I mean, of your screenplay?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. So they're dominant. So is there? I'm wondering how the females feel about I mean, you're asking how the males will feel, because the males feel if they're a marginalized group in your story, okay, you know, you could kind of maybe visualize that a little bit, but if the females are dominant, it's like, how do they feel about the integration?
They are not, they have all sorts of reactions, but generally they are on the consensus that this is not okay. And they want to do something about it. So some of them are almost immediately willing to sort of stage a coup and create some sort of reason that this can't happen. And that it blows up in their face. They decide to physically take action, which is ill-advised because everybody's magic is connected. And so they immediately pay for that, but they don't stop because they have the end goal that no, this cannot happen. They cannot stay here. So they have very aggressive, borderline abusive reactions to this constant male presence in their all female space.
Karis, is this a black Harry Potter, or is this, when you say okay, I just want to be clear what we're talking about.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's not just gender; it's also like black female, or is it just a gender? Because I thought when you said that, thinking all female, so it's black female specifically. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
So this is like
okay.
Harry Potter took place at a historically black college and university
Spellman and
in
Morehouse,
the South.
like a Spellman Morehouse type of thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was based on.
Is the society matriarchal or patriarchal?
It's matriarchal.
That's what I thought you said. Okay. I mean, from a guy's perspective coming into that, basically being socialized the way I've been socialized, like, or men being socialized as being, I don't know, dominant's not the right word, but we come from guys are socialized very differently than women, and I think it would be very intimidating for me. So, I mean, some people I feel like would be, and I'm sure you know this, is like some people would be angry about it. Some people would be cowed by it. So I think that you should pick whatever characters you want to, that maybe they come in with the opposite of what you want them to be. So their arc is stronger. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I mean, but like,
because I came in with the end goal. Like I started with the end of the episode and I was kind of going to work backwards. So this is right in line with, what I had envisioned for whatever process I decided to try writing this first pilot, which is, pick and choose everything. This is perfect. As you were saying, and I was like picturing who was going to do what, which was opposite of, their character growth at the end of the episode. So this helps a lot.
Well, I think that, like, in just not just along gender lines, but I think when people anyone comes into a new situation, it's really uncomfortable, and however they're going to react, they're going to react. But like, that's maybe that's the approach. I mean that is the approach. I mean, you know that, but like, I don't know. I don't want to talk along gender lines as much as. I know that it would be intimidating for me, but I'm older. I'm a white guy. And like, and so I come in. I was raised in a different generation, so it's like, I'm just saying, like, probably at that age it would have been uncomfortable for me because I was raised to see men's roles and women's roles are very different at the time. So and they feel like they're less. Everything's less defined now, which is good. There's a lot of flexibility. But like when I was raised, like, and probably in what you're talking about, like, that's what I felt like. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You are.
Yeah.
This is helping.
So I don't know if that's helpful. I mean, I'd be glad to talk to you further, but if that's helpful, that's
Yeah, I need all the help I can get because it's not just, the 20-something student cohort. I mean, the faculty have to integrate too. There were, some males did work at the all-female school, but mostly they were at the male school across the street. So they have to integrate as well. And that's an older generation. So we get a little bit. I didn't think to delve into, the way that a different generation would react to this news, but I think it brings authenticity to the fact that this decision affects an entire community. It's not just these students, it's everyone. So that's helping me flesh out, different reactions and sort of add to the atmosphere, sort of set the tone for what I want to happen the rest of the episode.
It's a great opportunity to create a lot of tension.
Yeah. Which is exactly what I want to do in the first 5 minutes.
But don't forget to find your headmistress.
Yep.
I can see that woman.
Yeah.
Who just has it all together and, has her finger on every single pulse and,
oh, yeah.
and knows how to throw her weight around besides, it's, and that's, that is a kind of an iconic persona in African-American culture, I think, that really strong woman. And, you've got, you've got that opportunity to have a lot of fun with that person and how she interacts, how she shapes, how she challenges people and, where their attitudes are at and, philosophy and on and on and on. I mean, there's a wealth of places to go with all of that.
Yay.
I just have a question about this. I do think of African-American culture as basically matriarchal to begin with. And I'm wondering if the point of tension you're choosing, this male versus female thing, is really what you should lead with here. If there isn't some other point of, you're trying to get some kind of tension building, is there something that's, I don't know what it would be, but I mean, I'm just saying, is there another, something that's, it seems pretty easy for the women to be accepted, for men to be accepting of women already.
Right. So the overarching where the story actually starts is amidst really intense racial tension in this town in the South, but it's very specific. It's thereafter the government in this town knows about this specific practice, even though culturally we don't talk about it. It's not out in the open. It's practiced very privately. There has been a leak somewhere, and now the government knows that these people exist, and they threaten local government by living off grid and being the source of all these riots and revolts against white supremacy. So the goal of local government is to eradicate them, but first you have to find them. And so it's set here in 2020, whatever this is shot. It'll be here. It's shot here, and we're doing like a sundown town kind of where it's literally life and death. So there's this sense of community where they begin to think about it differently because they have to. They can't spread out, and they're essentially being hoarded. These people are essentially being hoarded into one corner to pick them off. Little by little, and I'm not sure that the student population is aware of how serious it is. They're aware, generally, they're not aware intimately until something happens to them specifically, and then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. This is serious. Maybe we should stop fighting, but that happens later in the episode, and they're still not convinced because this is just episode 1.
So Karis, I don't know if this will help but so I grew up in a segregated school. So I spent maybe 6 16 years in a segregated school. So boys were a complete different section and the girls were complete. I mean, it was to the extent that beyond grade 4, it was boys were barred from going into the girls section and vice versa. In fact, we had incidences where brothers and sisters would get into trouble. And this was because it was a super conservative school. And I can tell you some of the dynamics if it helps with the authentic part of things, because when it came to the faculty, there was when you as a boy would step into, for whatever reason, like if there was a communication that had to be sent from a male teacher to a female teacher, you could feel kind of the difference by just entering into the girls section, where it was as if all eyes were on you, as you were kind of the alien to have invaded that safe space in which the girls were in. There were in fact even incidences where even the teachers reacted to that, to that kind of it's not infiltration per se, but kind of that presence. And it really felt odd as a male student to kind of step in. That was, at least from a student's perspective. We also, not as far as I can recall, there used to be a lot of I would say leadership competition between the two sections as well, as in whether the girls are doing better than the boys and so forth. I don't know whether that helps with your story. But yeah, so I've lived in that dynamics, and I can tell you how that felt. Then after I graduated, I moved into a co-ed environment, and what I went through and what others who were with me went through, it was again that comment that I made about we could see a different side of us as we got integrated into a co-ed environment, because you lived your life in an all male environment. Well, there are things happening outside of school, but then now you're kind of with female or girls in the same classes. So that kind of creates this dynamics, which at least if you have been living or going through that all male environment, you're not used to. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if this helps, but
no, it definitely does. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. This is exactly the kind of perspective and validity I wanted when I asked this question. I got everything from everyone that I
had his hand raised.
and I was able to like verify some things that I was testing out in this, like later in the script. Like I actually have a scene where they walk on campus and they can just feel that they're almost hated when they've never experienced that before, because socially it was just like, oh, we're gonna like go to parties, we're gonna like meet up and it's gonna be amazing. But now they're in a space where they are seen as the enemy. So there is like a march to death that they have to do, and the boys have to come on to the girls' campus, and that's why I was like, oh, how does everyone react to this? I know how I would feel as a writer, but that's not what I want to put on the page. I want people to see themselves. So it's a really uncomfortable moment. So I wanted that tension to be very authentic, but also a little bit confusing. So thank you for sharing your story, because you answered everything I needed to know about it.
Kenyatta has his hand raised.
Okay, and earlier when I asked, at first, when you asked that question, I'm thinking you're just speaking, on the level of gender, male gender. Now that you add race to it, I kind of agree with a lot with what Rob said about, and a lot of people don't see it this way, but Black society is matriarchal, and people don't realize that. I mean, you do have Black feminists, and and they'll preach that there's a patriarchy in Black society, but it's not. It's not. So a lot of people don't realize that. So when you add Black males to the equation, it's like we already live in a matriarchal, from our standpoint, and a lot of like myself, we kind of recognize that maybe at one point, I can't remember a point when it was purely patriarchal, unless you go all the way to Africa, before slavery. But during slavery, it wasn't that way. During the 60s and 70s and 80s, whatever. So my answer would be different. But if it was just, if you take out race and just put gender, I could say, because like white society is patriarchal.
It is. Yep.
You know what I mean? So so that's a different, but being a black male in this situation that you're speaking of, it's kind of like, I kind of feel it sometimes with certain segments of black females, where you have a segment of it where you're always being accused of what they call it, toxic masculinity. If you show any masculinity, it's seen as bad. You know what I mean? So they want, to. It's kind of like you kind of is you get gas. You get a bit of vilification if you show certain masculine traits, so on and so forth. That's going on now. You get what I'm saying? I mean, there is people who are toxic. There's females who are toxic.
Right.
But a lot of the brunt of things are put on the male. Like the articles being written about black men are the white supremacists of black people. You know what I'm saying? And then when nowadays when you see stories, they put dresses on men. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you're trying to erase. So from that perspective, men are trying to say, okay, masculinity is not bad, because if in human beings, you need the masculine principle, you need the feminine principle, and to get a balance, you know what I'm saying, you got to work in conjunction together. Because if you have one more than the other, things are imbalanced.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is great. I'm gonna go back and kind of just slice everything and be like, who's who, what device am I using to show their character? What are they used for in the story? What do I want people to learn? This is like great. Just the word balance helps me a lot. Because there's a lot that is happening over the course of the entire season, and this is just the first episode. So I wanted to, pace it out, because this is the first time that a lot of people are going to be hearing about this, and are going to be seeing images that they've never seen before. So I kind of wanted to immerse you, but not drown you, because I want you to stay. So this is really helping, because I want men to feel seen too. And that's why I just decided to go to a panel full of men, because I don't know anything about being a man. And this is, since it will eventually become an ensemble cast, it was very important to me that every character have a solidified space in the pilot, that no one is frivolous, and no one is like erasable. If you like take them out of the pilot, I would want the pilot to fall apart. So I was struggling with Kenyatta, as you pointed out, balance. So this really helps me. Thank you so much, all of you.
Kara, so I had a question for you. When you were describing this originally, I thought that the hoodoo culture that you were describing, that you were creating kind of a healing, almost a healing and separate community, or separate community. And so I didn't really see it as a place where men and women are battling each other. It's more that people from the outside either come into this community to heal, or when they leave, they realize what's outside there. So I didn't really see it so much as a sex thing. It's just that the hoodoo community has a force field around. I'm just making that word up, because and within that community, my perspective is looking at this. I grew up in the Caribbean. I'm looking at this and saying, you can create an all black community. I can see how it functions. I know exactly how it functions. And within that community, there are always lessons that you have to teach both the people coming in, who can be both men and women, and the people who are leaving to go, it is they do when they leave.
Right.
And the point of tension is not so much tied to the sex roles. It's just one element of inside, you're inside the circle or you're outside the circle.
Right.
And the difference between the two worlds.
Right. Thank you for that distinction. You were right about the way that I explained it the first time. That's exactly what's happening here. I think I'm more talking about I needed answers for a very specific scene because this is just one moment. And by the end of the episode, that community connection is restored. And they're like, kind of like, okay, it is what it is. Like, you have my back, I have yours. This is what we do, kind of thing. But in that moment, the shock is so present that, one group is aggressively processing it, and one group is just like they're like, oh, what? I have to be with them all the time. Why? What's going? That kind of thing. So you're right. It is where they come to heal, but I mean, healing is a process. So we get to see them go through that with their own separate reactions, and that's really what I wanted to inform that journey, because I had already written that, and I was like, where do they start? I know where they end, but what are they feeling when they're first dropped into this world? Because they are coming in to, in a sense, a world within a world. They know a little bit, but they don't know a lot. They're part of the hoodoo community, but they're not a part of the hoodoo community on this campus, this all-female campus. So they both cohorts had to learn each other, and that's something that we get to watch them do over the course of the season. It doesn't all happen in one episode. Episode 1 is really about watching all of the characters decide to stay together, even though the world wants to pull them apart. And they all have their different journeys of why they're choosing to be together, why they're choosing to stay and fight and, answer the call and do that thing. So
Is this the project you're doing for school, or you doing this on your own?
This was the project that I was working on for class, and I didn't finish it because I kind of got into a discussion with my male instructor, and I wanted a little bit more instruction. And this was something I realized I needed to take to a bigger audience because I had written the majority of the script and left men out, even though they're in this world, a very pivotal part of the world. It was just very female centric, and that wasn't true of the entire season. Even though this is just the pilot episode, I realized I needed to reach back and tell the truth of what was happening to men, and what better way than to bring it here and pitch it and see, from other perspectives, what's actually going on inside of these men who emote very differently than women do.
All right, excellent. So hope you got a lot of feedback, Karis, because
I did. Thank you, everyone.
well, it's definitely a fascinating idea, and I can't wait if you ever want to submit it to the group. Of course, we'll be more than happy to take it up and peer review it.
Yes, I definitely will. Just be careful what you ask for, because it's almost everything. So be ready.
All right.
And it's not just feedback. We could even help people accountability too. So yeah. So will you have it done by the next meetup, or?
I won't have it done by next meetup. I will have it done by second week March. So I want to write the first draft and then polish it just a little bit so that it's readable, because I wrote it in shorthand. And then I'll
we're gonna do it
for dissection. I'm ready for you guys to pull it apart.
Yeah.
So is it like an hour-long show, or is it half an hour?
No, it's an hour-long drama. I was writing it as a half an hour, and I was running into all sorts of problems. All the characters were like, no, we have more to say. And I was like, but I'm a new writer. I don't want you guys to say a lot. And they were like, tough. The story, it needs to be longer. So I had to reformat it for an hour.
Okay, so next meetup, you have the first draft.
No.
Middle of March.
Middle March. I keep forgetting because we're
Okay.
opposite
right.
weeks.
All right. All right, we're gonna hold you to it now.
Okay, please
You
do.
you don't have it ready, Kenyatta's gonna make you go in the hot tub.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh man.
All right, but again, I want to thank each and every one of you for imparting into these characters and this script, and you're helping a first time TV writer who made the jump from features, and you're helping me land safely. So everybody's feedback was appreciated, and I cannot thank you guys enough.
Excellent.
Anytime.
Okay, you're welcome then. Right. So getting 5 after 8. I don't know if people were able to eat beforehand. I wasn't, so not to not to speed things up or anything, but I'm actually fine. So don't leave. But unless anyone has any quick pitches that they would want, maybe get a little bit of feedback on. No. All right.
Does anybody have any questions about screenwriting they'd like to bring up?
I just want to say thank you guys. I got filled on a couple of different things tonight. So thank you for your critiques and talking about some of the things that's expected in the script. And I can't wait to get further along in my process and have something to present. But thank you.
No, thank you for
Welcome.
joining us, Diallo.
Welcome.
Glad you could join us. Yeah, for the first time.
Diallo.
Glad we endeared ourselves to you, and that hopefully you'll be able to make another meetup.
Yeah, Dio, do you have any ideas that you've been sitting on that you are planning on hopefully writing into a screenplay, a short script, or what?
Yeah. I think I need to give it more thought before I present it. And I'm gonna have to do like Tatiana and just put it out there, at some point. And I think I will be coming up with something soon.
What genre were you thinking about?
I'm thinking of like a coming of age type story. So
Steven knows all about that. I mean, if you want quick pointers, I'm sure you'll be happy to help. He's all about coming of age dramas.
Sure. Let me know it.
You may spell it differently.
yeah, is it there are no new stories out there? It's just a different story, different elements.
Different elements.
Yep, sounds great.
Like, what are some of your favorite like coming of age movies?
Oh, I'm thinking Juice, Fresh, Dope. Those are like all in the same, but I never get tired of it. So, that's kind of what I'm toying with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If you can write anything like those, by all means, share it. That's
yeah.
but only when you're ready. But but again, only when you're ready. Only when you're ready to submit it to the group. All right. Done? I think so. All right. Well,
Special thanks from me. Thank you, Rob.
thank you for
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Yeah, thank you for your script, Tatiana. That was great. We can't wait for the revisions, and hope you had got a lot of helpful feedback. And
thank you.
I think are we done for the night? I think so. All right. Okay, so this was great, all. Thanks for joining. It's good seeing returning faces and new faces. And
happy birthday.
We'll do this again in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
Have a good night. Happy shuffling. If you double a sidewalk or driveway, if you're in Massachusetts, I should say. But, yeah.
And don't forget Saturday if you can make it.
Saturdays if you can make it, yeah.
Yeah, don't forget we got YouTube too. We have a YouTube channel. Go ahead and check it out. Subscribe, hit the like button, make comments.
You have a podcast if you want to give us listen to Kenyatta and I and a few others. If you want to keep on listening to us talk about movies.
Man, this is a media empire here.
I know. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for.
What's the podcast name?
script to screen, but it's right on the Meetup page. It's in the discussion
got it.
board.
Got it.
Yeah,
And it's on the Facebook page too, right, Jeff?
on the Facebook page. I always post on the Facebook, Twitter. So, okay. Well, it's great.
All right.
Again, thank all for coming, and yeah, have a good night.
Karis, I'm excited to read your pilot.
Arriba there,
Have a
Jim.
good night.
Good luck with best in writing and everything else. Yes.
Yes, have a good writing week,
Fuego.
everyone.
All right, good night.
All right. Have a good night, all.
All right, bye.
Thank you again, Jeff, for co-hosting this meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, keep us updated, Karis. Please
I
let us know. I mean, you won't know the results for like what, another few days.
Yeah, I think they said it's like a 3 to 4 day turnaround now.
Right.
They're getting it out quicker.
Right.
So I will just drop something in the WhatsApp and keep you posted. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please keep us updated. But yeah, best in health. Yeah, best going forward. But yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, good luck with that script. Yeah, I hope that was all helpful.
Oh, it was. This is a perfect space. So I can't wait
know,
to
yeah.
bring it finished. And thank
That was
you.
actually something I've always wanted to try out. Just a pitch meeting, like sort of people give their script ideas in any level of completion in order to like get like feedback before even seeing any sort of anything on paper. That's something I've always wanted.
I wrote it down in the notes. You had a really good idea about about a genre-based writers room, and I think that you can sort of count this as a litmus test that people really respond to that. So I don't know if like maybe a few months from now, if we keep doing this at every single meeting, we can sort of take that information, take that data back to Deb. And just show her that there is genuine interest in having just a pitch-based, engagement session, and then we can add something else to our content calendar. So thank you for trying the pitches out, and I'll keep up with it every Tuesday meeting.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's definitely something where we can definitely switch things up because. But
All
yeah.
right. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thank you. No, thank you. Yeah, I will. I will enjoy the rest 4 hours left in my birthday. But yeah.
Good.
But again,
Okay.
Karis, the best in health, and yeah, let us know.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Good night.
You have a good night.